Thank you so much, Didier, for really, I think, sharing what is probably the most important and the invisible part behind such projects. Because I think often we only see them in the physical form, we forget the people behind it, and we forget what is possible if we have the right heart. So, I know we are a bit short of time, but I do feel that it's important to have maybe just a couple of questions, or if you could keep it short so that Didier can respond. Yes, and do introduce yourselves before you speak. Anyone? Yes, Imran.
I don't need a mic, I think.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. I have two questions. The first is for the CHIJ restoration. Thank you very much, firstly, for the presentation. What do you think of the conversion of the chapel into a bar and a pub, as well as a shopping area? I mean, you mentioned it at the very end, but you didn't elaborate on how you felt about it. You mentioned the last Mass, but you didn't mention how you felt about post-restoration, the fact that it was converted. And based on the economic model, because one of the rationales that is often forwarded as to why it was converted into commercial use has to do with the fact that you need to recoup the cost of restoration. Is this truly the case? That's my question for CHIJ, my first question. My second question has to do with the very interesting restoration of the pavilion of Napoleon III in Phnom Penh. The question is a little bit complex. Let me try and get this across clearly. It has to do with basically the restoration, if I'm trying to put it in the timeline. The restoration of the pavilion of Napoleon III took place just before the Cambodian government at that time restored the palace around it. The palace was restored in the months, I think September, October, in time for November 14 when Prince Norodom Sihanouk returned, as you mentioned. So you were there when he returned as well. Were these linked or completely unlinked? What was your position as a French person coming into Cambodia? Obviously, there had to be, you gave us the anecdote, you arrived and then they rejected your offer for them to collaborate with you to restore the pavilion. Apparently, they had their own plans to restore the palace because they wanted Norodom back for various political reasons. So I'm just trying to disentangle it here because you mentioned it more from a personal basis. I'm trying to put it in context. What was it like? Was it linked, delinked? Who gave the funds for the, was it French government, the funds? And being French, was it an impediment or did it help in the kinds of negotiations you had with the government at that time? It was, after all, still Khmer Rouge. Thank you.
So the first one is about the chapel. As you have seen on one of the slides, it was written that the chapel was reserved to have cultural events. So you talk about bar, I'm not aware about this. It might have been a usage later. But at the beginning, it was only for this, because it was a deconsecrated church anyway. So that was not a problem, and the Good Shepherd is just across the street, so there was no need in terms of religious building. And the only thing is, say, this type of building is not so easy to reuse. I always say, if the cultural events can raise your soul and your spirit, that's already something in the same spirit of the building itself. Of course, the bars, it doesn't make any elevation of your spirit. but to get a glass, why not to have a part of fest in this type of thing? Even in the churches, it's very possible to have a drink. It's not paradoxal with the church itself. So it's just to step by step to think about this place. How can the place help your subject, and how the subject can help the building itself? That's the main thing. For the pavilion, there is absolutely no link. Absolutely no link, because you say they were dreaming. No, not at all. And over there, when I was over there, they were not talking about the king is coming. It was a kind of a dream, but they never talk about it, because the people who were in place wanted to stay in place. They did not want to leave their seat. So there is absolutely no link with the royal palace. The king finally arrived in October. We finished in September. There was nobody in the royal palace. He arrived, but very slowly. I mean, his travel back has been postponed all the time. So, of course, they started to restore in November for him. But even when you arrive in November, what I show you, it's November 11, if I remember correctly, when we did the inauguration with him. But he was not staying at the Royal Palace because it was not possible to stay. So everything has been made much later. You talk about the finance. It's true, I didn't talk about this. You know, as we are just alone, so first of all, I ask every student to try to find enough money to pay the travel and the air ticket, actually, and also to find sponsors. So what we gave, I think I gave 200 talk about this just to get the money. And to tell you the truth, even some companies, some contractors help us, so on. They gave us a lot of products. All the products have been given, the paint, the hammers, the tools, and everything. And even at the last minute, you know, it was in June, and we were supposed to start in July. And I told everyone, after 1 hour, which was very difficult to say, it's not possible to go this year. We don't have enough money. We are missing 8 tickets, 8 air tickets. At that time, it was, doesn't mean anything for you, but 10,000 francs at that time, so it means 80,000 francs at that time. And we couldn't. So I say, we are going to send the materials this year, and we'll go next year. But I don't know why, but we say we are doing a very last talk in Lyon. So I gave the talk. A lot of people came, but you know, to get the money, we were selling the T-shirt. And at that time, there were pins. If you remember the pins, we did the pins with the design of the pavilion and so on. But it was just a few euros, I would say. So not much. And so I gave the talk, and they say, no way. But suddenly, the next day, I got a phone call from a very old lady, and she told me, I went to your conference yesterday night because my father has worked in Tonkin. I don't know if you remember, Tonkin was the old name of Cambodia and Vietnam and so on. So that means his father, I say, my God, he's the last century, so how old is she? Because he's very old. And he's saying, our father had talked so much about it, so I went to your conference. Could you come and visit us? I'm just staying with my sister. So I went to an apartment, a very dark apartment. It was like not realistic. And then suddenly in a very narrow pathway and so on, the door opened, and I've seen 2 wonderful old ladies, very, very slim, but very nice, very quiet. One was 95 and the other one 97. And we went into the salon, a very nice salon, with 2 chairs and a cup of tea and an envelope on the table. That's all. And we sit down, and she said, she told a lot of things about her father. He was wonderful, they like him, and so on. And suddenly, very simply, very elegantly, I would say, she told me, you know, one was speaking and the other one was listening. And the one who was speaking, the sister, she told me, you know, the life is like this. I got married in 1915, my sister in 1917, and both our husbands died in 1918 during World War I. We never marry again, and so we would like to help what she called your children, and had the pupils and the students and so on. And say, I saw this envelope, it's for you. I didn't jump on the envelope, but no, I just noticed he's very sick. Okay. So anyway, we were discussing again, very nice, we kissed each other, I took the envelope, and I found it's very heavy. So in the staircase, I opened the envelope, my God, it was a gold bar. A gold bar. I took the metro, I say, I hope nobody will notice I have a gold bar in my pocket. And I arrived at the office, and I asked the association to sell it, and with no spare francs and euros, it's exactly the 8 ticket we were missing. So we left.
I think that's a wonderful moment to conclude this session, because I think there's always a message that there are many, many ways to help people around us, but the first, we have to have the right spirit, and we have to ask. And for all of us who can help in some way, do think of helping in ways that will move yourself. I think, especially in Cambodia, I've always thought that in Southeast Asia, we in Singapore, we are so fortunate. We are so blessed that we have peace. And therefore, we have a greater duty to really help those around us. And to realize, in the case of Cambodia, how easy it is to destroy a civilization. All you need are to destroy the teachers. And that's it. But with the right people, the right heart, the right time, we can always recover some of teaching. I think if we are willing to share and to teach, then the future is reassured. So thank you, Didier, for teaching us today some very valuable lessons beyond building. Bravo, Didier.